Hey guys, Jemmy here today, and we are going to be looking at Cutter's Cry Dungeon. This dungeon is accessible via the Duty Finder at level 38 and sinks off at level 40. You could also find it on the map where Camp Blackbrush is on the upper, I guess, left-hand corner, or you want to say like northwest corner. So once you enter this dungeon, you'll be meeting a lot of insect-type creatures and bats. You know, I guess it's kind of like a cavern underground theme. There will be certain kind of markers on the ground. If you see there's some behind where the mobs are, they're kind of like bubbly looking. Those, or right there in front of me. If I stand in it, it'll go like sand pillar and it'll do damage. But right now it has stone skin on, so that kind of negated it out. But don't stand on those pillars or those little circle things because they will do damage to you, so watch out for the grounds like that near the healer. And for demonstration purposes, I'm going to stand on one of those circles on purpose and show you that damage. So you see that I got hit for about 241. So just be aware when you're standing or fighting to move about or around those areas. And once the last mob here that is up is cleared, there will be a whole bunch of ants that kind of spawn around the room. So they won't engage until the boss engages one of them, and then at that time all of the other ants around the room will aggro together. So tank wants to be aware of that, maybe save his AoE enmity move so that when all the ants are clustered together that he could get the aggro from them. Once you defeat the last of those ants, there will be a portal right there called Shifting Sands. What you want to do is just go up there, target it, and then it'll ask you if you want to, move on to the next area, to say yes. And there it will teleport you into the next room, where basically the idea is the same. You still have those ground areas where you don't want to be standing in, and you have a couple of mobs in the middle that you'll have to clear out first. Again, a very useful tactic to use is those markers where you see on our screen, you see the 1, 2, and 3 where the mobs are labeled. This helps your DPS know which one the tank is going to go after and which one they want to take down first. So all the damage will be kind of collective unless it's, an AoE skill that you are using. Just like the first room where there was ants that came out after you defeated the initial mobs that were on the map, it does the same thing in the second room. So you see that the sentries are outlining the outer rim of the map here. What you want to do is for the tank to engage whenever he is ready. Of course, all the ants are going to aggro together. And at that time, the tank wants to probably use an AoE skill to claim that aggro. And then, of course, your DPS can go in and DPS down the rest. And here again, the marking of the ads will help out a lot just to know which one the tank is going to go after. So you see a 1 here. You don't really necessarily have to label all of them 1, 2, 3, 4 down the line. You could just simply put the 1 on which one you're initially going after. Hence, just letting the DPS know, hey, I'm going after this guy, so let's kill this one first and then we'll move on to the next one. So after the last mob dies, you're just going to look for the same shifting sands again that will appear. It's on the right there. So you see it's down there. You're just gonna click on it and do the same thing that you did in the first room, but it will teleport you, of course, into a different room. Where there will be, you probably guessed it, more mobs. So again, just with your group, watch the ground, just collect all the ads as much as possible, mark them if it's useful to you, and just CPS down as quick as possible to move on. Just continue making your way down the map. Watch for those ground sand pillars as you're going along so that you avoid unnecessary damage, and continue clearing mobs along the way. Keep in mind that this is not a race where you have to defeat all the mobs and be out of here by a certain time. There is a bonus for that, like if you complete it at a good time, but it's not really something where you have to be so uptight about. But so as long as your team is able to muster out the DPS, then good for you. If not, then slow and steady wins the race. It's not really all about, hey, let's kite all these mobs to the boss room and then defeat it all there, because it would pretty much not going to work if you don't have the high DPS for it anyways. So yeah, just keep a steady pace. Know what your group is capable of, especially if it's a pug. Just try to get a feel for what people can or can't do. Also guys, sorry for my crappy camera angles. I mean, sometimes this game, because of the terrain and because of all the pillars, like even though I zoom out, if I turn to a certain angle, it like zooms me all the way back in because of the wall there, or like the pillar there that was behind me or something like that. So sorry about that. If I could fix it, I wish I could, or lock my camera, but I haven't found something like I could do that, or where it will allow me to do that. So just letting you guys know. Alright, so once you go ahead and clear that mob group right there, you'll see your first coffer. And there's a sand pillar blocking the way, so you might want to just jump over the area. Once you get the coffer, just backtrack your way and you'll see your first boss. The ant princess is what I call it. I don't know how to pronounce the first name, but you could definitely try yourself. So yeah. This boss actually summons ads, and a lot of them. So if you have a DPS class that is good with AoE, then that's really great. Even though if you have a single target, I mean a melee class, that's just fine. Just need to focus on the ads as much as possible. She does summon, I guess, kind of big ants as well. There's several types. There is a guard and a marshal. When a marshal comes out, you definitely want to focus on the bigger guys rather than the smaller ones. So definitely focus on the guard and the marshal when they come out. So you see here, she's summoning her marshal right now, and some soldiers. So they'll come out from the outer ring and they're going to head towards the middle. So you see the marshal right there. You want to focus on the marshal because, he does like good damage. So you want to focus on that guy and defeat it first. And then you can focus on the smaller ads and then back to the boss. And these ads come in waves. So if your DPS is high enough to clear them before the next wave, then that's great. If not, then you definitely want to focus on as much as possible, especially if you get your limit breaker up and you have a DPS class that has one of those AoE limit breakers, then that's really great because that will help you out in clearing out some of those ads that you couldn't finish off. And of course, like, you know, if your tank misses some and they're on you or aggroed on you, just run. Just run in a circle. Just be strategic about it. You know, don't stand there just getting hit. Just continue running around, doing some hits, and they'll eventually die, or the tank will eventually get it off you. And if the boss is down to a slither of life, then just ignore all the ads and just go for the boss. Even if you have to kite around and just hit one hit at a time or something like that, just kite it around, because once the boss dies, all the ads will disappear, leaving you with your first boss down and another coffer. There'll be another shifting sands that will be in that boss room as well. Just take that shifting sands into the next area where it kind of looks like an oasis type feel, where of course you'll be defeating more mobs. Fun stuff. So in this room alone, there are a couple of coffers that are littered around the oasis. So you basically want to make a full circle around the area, just clearing mobs along the way so that you could claim all of those coffers. So there's another coffer right behind that pillar over there where you can check. So essentially that's the two examples I'll give, but that's what you are going to do. And once you get all the coffers that you want, clear out those mobs, you'll just move on to the next area where essentially you're going to do the exact same things. Clear out the mobs, get the coffers as you're going through, and you'll, you know, get some loot. Once you get all the coffers in this room, you could take the shifting sands to your second boss. Of course, same group dynamic applies. You want your tank to get aggro and you want your healer to heal DPS to DPS down the boss. This boss doesn't spawn any additional ads, so that's good. However, there's a couple of special things that he does, which I will name off when they happen. So at certain points during the fight, the worm will actually go into the ground in the sand. He's gonna shift around like that, and he's gonna go in one direct linear angle and pop out doing damage. So you want to be aware of where those popping sands are and just keep moving around so that you're not hit by that. So you just saw the boss dive into the sand just right now, and he is going to be somewhere in the sand where he'll be indicated by, by that. The rising sands right there, and he's heading towards that linear area. So you have to be very careful about where that linear area is. And guys, don't be shy about using your limit breakers, especially the DPS. Now, for DPSs, there's two types. There is a single target limit breaker and there is an AoE type limit breaker. Now, depending on what the boss does, you might want to save the limit breaker for the other DPS if there is someone more suited. So let's say for this boss, since it is single target, if you had a single target DPS class, you might want to have left it for the single target DPS to use. However, in our group right now, all the DPSs can do is AoE, so hence why I used it. So while I was talking, we saw the boss go into the sand again, and then instead of popping up like he usually did, after about 50% of his life is down, he does a different move now. Instead of popping up in random places, he shifted the entire sand in the middle, drawing everyone close to that center and doing damage to them, which I think we're about to see right now again. There you go. It does some damage, so you might want to try to be on the outer corners. I'm not sure if that helps any, but at this time, healers want to be aware that right after the skill ends, you probably want to throw out an AoE heal so that everyone recovers a little and is not hanging for their life. So that is about it, guys. All you have to really do is watch out when the boss goes into the sand, just so that you know which skill he does, and try to avoid it as much as possible. From there, just keep on DPSing him down and you'll be awarded with 2 coffers and move on to the next area. So this area looks a lot more different. It's not like a cavern kind of filled with sand and desert theme with an oasis. It's actually kind of like a subterranean cavern where stuff is glowing and stuff. I don't know how to explain it. Different type of underground, I guess. Where you'll see different types of mobs. Here you'll see like some kind of putty stuff. Now for this area, you won't have to worry about any more sand pillars, but there are other stuff that you have to worry about, which is that kind of, if you see on the ground, it kind of looks like some kind of geyser kind of thing. They will explode like that and do damage to you, so you have to watch out for them when you're standing close to them. And at the end of the tunnel right here, you'll see another coffer for you to open up and see what's inside. As far as for all the loots that drop in this dungeon, I will go ahead and post all of the screenshots in my blog. So if you want to know what dropped in this dungeon, or if you see something that you had liked and want to know what dungeon it drops from, then I'm gonna list up all of the loots that I gotten from the dungeons, so that they're at your disposal. About like, oh hey, I wanted this hands, where did they come from? Then you'll know which dungeon I had gotten them from. And a link to my blog will be in the description bar below, so just go ahead and click on the more info on the bottom and it'll open up a listing of that, and you could check out my blog from there. There will be another coffer at the end of this tunnel where you can get for possible loot, but after you get the coffer you want to backtrack down to that fork where you had came down here to, and instead of going back down here, of course, you want to head up north where you will meet your final boss. Your final boss for the Cutter's Cry dungeon will be Chimera. There are two specific moves that Chimera does that are probably considered your party wipers, so I'll go ahead and let you know about them once they happen, because they happen very frequently, so you want to avoid any of those moves. But the group dynamic still is the same. Tank goes in, aggroes, and of course healer heals, DPS DPS. The two devastating skills that Chimera does is Dragon's Voice and Ram's Voice. Now whether it says like Dragon's Breath or Ram's Breath or something like that, you don't really have to worry about that. That's something the tank has to worry about, if you're really in close range, because that will affect you. Now Dragon's Voice, as you see here, it's going off. Everyone should be in the middle, because that's the only way to avoid the attack. It's to be in the middle, because there will be some space in the middle where his outward AoE will not hit. Or you could be really far away, but then you won't be in range to hit any of your moves. So you see Dragon's Voice just went off again. So you have to be very aware about your surroundings or where you are, so that you can make it in time to be within Chimera to avoid that Dragon's Voice attack. Now Ram's Voice works the complete opposite. Here's another Dragon's Voice going off. Okay. Now Ram's Voice works completely opposite. When it says Ram's Voice, any kind of melee, even the tank, wants to be away from Chimera, because he will do an ice attack that's only around him, dealing damage to everyone that is close. Here we see another Dragon's Voice going off. He really loves that move. He uses it more than Ram's Voice, but Ram's Voice does come up sometime. Now I know that some people do it a different way, where they alternate silences or something like that to try to negate him from doing his move, but I would say that's kind of risky, because if someone misses a move, then everyone gets hit or something like that. So just be not too far away, but not too close. Just right in the middle. Was that corny? Alright, well, yeah, regardless of that, when your limit breaker is up, go ahead and use the limit breaker when you can. If you see there is like this blue bubble around me, or orb that was following me, yeah, stay away from that. For me, because I was using the limit breaker, I really couldn't move and I just had to get hit. There's a Ram's Voice going off right now. You see, there you go. You said that ice happened. Yeah, you want to be out of that. So when he is charging up for that move is when you want to be leaving. You don't want to leave or try to leave when you see the animation going off, because that's pretty much too late. That's just too late. So if you see right above his name, it'll show you which one he's going to do. So he's just did Ram's Voice. So right now our tank is down, hence why we're just kind of running around here. But never give up. You just kind of kite him around until the tank gets up and up to his feet. Oh, there was a Ram's Voice I couldn't see. Yeah. So it's not really a one-shotter move, however it does damage, and for any kind of casters, it actually paralyzes you, or even if you're melee, it paralyzes you, so it prevents you from healing or prevents you from, getting off a skill that you need to. Another tip I recommend for any kind of fight is just keep on moving. Just don't stay in one area. Of course, if you're casting something that has a channeling time, then go ahead and do that. But once you get your skills off, then just keep on moving so that you're not in one area. So for Chimera, that's pretty much about it. You just have to avoid those two big moves, the Ram's Voice and the Dragon's Voice. Dragon's Voice affects anyone who stands far, far away, so I guess all of your casting classes or Disciple of Magic classes. Ram's Voice affects all of your melee range attackers, even the tank, so any kind of Disciple of War. So you want to be aware of where you are just so that you are able to avoid those two skills, and if you are able to do so, then Chimera will be pretty much easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I don't know where that came from, but it came from somewhere. So that's about all, guys. I hope this helps you succeed and win when you're trying out Cutter's Cry for yourself. If you haven't seen my latest video on Final Fantasy XIV, which is the Brave Flock's Long Stop walkthrough, you could go ahead and check that out, linked in the middle. And to stay updated with the latest videos that I have, you could go ahead and click that subscribe button up top to help me out. You can find me on other forms of social media such as Twitter and Facebook. Thanks, guys, and I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye!